Good morning, everybody. My name is Richard Flanders from Checkpoint. Thank you for your time this morning. I'm going to speak for about 30 minutes on vSEC, which is advanced protection for the cloud that is offered by Checkpoint currently as our main solution for cloud security. Thank you for the introduction, Melanie. As an introduction, I'd like to give you a view of what Checkpoint defines cloud as. So for us, cloud computing means it provides us a means by which we can access applications as utilities over the internet. It allows us to create and configure and customize applications online and access database resources via the internet from anywhere as long as we need without worrying about any maintenance or management of actual physical resources in terms of physical compute, servers, etc. And our definition of the cloud is that it's a term that refers to a network or an internet. We can say that the cloud is something which is present in a remote location and can provide services over the network on public networks or private networks. For example, WAN, wide area networks, LANs, or VPNs. And we all use the cloud with applications such as email, web conferencing, CRM. All of those applications run in a cloud of some description. And there is a requirement to secure these deployments within the cloud. Cloud computing refers to manipulating, configuring, and accessing the applications online. We can use data storage, we can use compute infrastructure remotely. The cloud computing is a combination of software and hardware based on computing resources delivered as a network service. That is how Checkpoint defines the cloud. And our cloud models are as follows. Public cloud, which allows systems and services to be accessed by the general public, sometimes perceived as less secure because of its openness, the fact that it is a federated platform. The private cloud, which allows systems and services to be accessed only by individuals within a particular organization, and that is perceived as offering increased security because it is by its very nature private. Community cloud, something we don't come across very often, but it allows systems and services to be accessible by a group of organizations, for example, universities, healthcare organizations, something where the sharing of information is going to be of use. And hybrid cloud, a mixture of public and private cloud. And this is where most companies are at the moment. They are mixing hybrid cloud and private cloud and public cloud as a hybrid cloud to perform non-critical activities in that public cloud space. So that is how we define our cloud models at Checkpoint. Why use the cloud? Well, first of all, it allows you to be more agile as a business, to spin up and spin down workloads within an environment which you don't need to maintain and you don't need to service and you don't need to support. It's because somebody else does that, the cloud provider. You can pay as you go for the services, so you're not buying in equipment and expertise to do something. It's all there, available there already. You just pay for it as you go. That drives down cost within the business and offers the opportunity to share the responsibility for the safety of your data with a cloud provider. And we're expecting to see huge growth both in the private cloud market with software-defined networks and the public cloud, infrastructure as a service, IaaS. We're seeing revenues grow massively quickly in the public cloud space. So most of the companies we are talking to are looking to use the public cloud in one way or another to service their applications. Now, we believe that assets that are placed in either a private cloud in the data center or a public cloud are vulnerable to attack. And there is a reason for this. The legacy security that we've known in the past to protect applications within the data center, we don't believe is enough. Traditionally, perimeter security would provide for a gateway at the north and south of the data center, protecting against malware coming in and going out of that data center space. The problem with that is that in this day and age where data centers are virtualized and there are dozens of servers perhaps within the data center sitting in different virtual machines, if a piece of malware does get into the infrastructure, then it can move easily laterally in an east-west way between applications. So the customer might not even know that a piece of malware has entered the infrastructure because it'll hide within virtual machines and spread itself right across the deployment, which of course is very bad. And thirdly, the traditional static security model fails to protect against malware entering a very dynamic environment, an environment that is changing all the time. You need a piece of software that is going to understand how those changes are being made to the infrastructure and protect it with security accordingly. And vSEC can do this. So, if you are running a hybrid cloud model, that is, you are looking to use something like AWS or Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, or another cloud platform, Check Point do not believe that the native security that Microsoft and Amazon, etc., offer within those cloud platforms is enough to protect your data. Secondarily, if you're trying to manage the security policy between different clouds because you have a deployment in Amazon or a deployment in Microsoft, then you will have a difficulty in maintaining a consistent security policy because they do not do things in the same way. Thirdly, the security that Amazon and Microsoft, etc., provide is not elastic enough to cope with all the changes that you are liable to be making to your cloud deployment. And because those changes take time, that encourages parts of the business to go out and use their own AWS or Azure deployment, which they bought themselves, which means it's outside of the visibility of the IT department. A very bad situation because IT then has no control over that particular deployment. We call that shadow IT. We want to drive that down and reduce any need for shadow IT as it's seen by the business, drive that out so that we have control over the whole deployment. So, vSEC, or virtual security, will provide adaptive security for all clouds. This includes private clouds, which are deployed on VMware's NSX technology, for instance, or Cisco's ACI technology, which are software-defined networks. Excuse me. vSEC will lock onto VMware's NSX controller and Cisco's ACI controller and will work with those softwares to enable security within that private cloud environment and change it accordingly as those software-defined network controllers make changes. vSEC will keep up with those changes and keep applying your security policy in an automated and orchestrated way. The same technique applies to Amazon, Azure, OpenStack, Nuage, Google Cloud Platform, public cloud platforms, where vSEC again will automatically apply your security policy and rules right across those public and private cloud networks and can be managed from one single console that will provide you with a comprehensive 360-degree view of your entire security infrastructure right across those different clouds. So from a private cloud perspective, if you are using VMware's NSX, for instance, or you're using Cisco's ACI, vSEC will automatically add security inside your private cloud and prevent the lateral spread of threats between applications within that environment. So it will apply that gateway between virtual machines and the infrastructure and prevent the spread of malware if it does get into your infrastructure. If we apply that to Microsoft Azure or to Amazon or to Google, then we are protecting those environments in the same way. We are applying a consistent security policy and control right across private and public cloud deployments. And that will deliver, in our view, a huge reduction in the amount of time spent configuring security policy to take into account changes that are made within your private or public cloud. And this speaks very well into reducing the amount of time that individuals have to spend doing these tasks and frees them up to do other things that are more strategic. If your organization has a DevOps culture, that is, you are producing applications and provisioning them very quickly, and they are evolving very quickly, then vSEC applies adaptive security. It can instantly protect those applications as they are produced by the development teams. And vSEC will learn about application changes and will learn how to apply a consistent security policy right across those applications, even as they change and are republished by the DevOps team. And it will auto-scale virtual security. It will grow and shrink as required by the development teams. So we have a customer, Telefónica, down in Spain. They have a team of 700 or so developers, all of whom are producing applications and application changes very quickly. And they have deployed vSEC as a way of maintaining their security posture right across that deployment of virtual machines to allow their DevOps team to keep on producing new applications which are automatically protected by vSEC. So, to give you some examples of this, traditionally, if you want to change an application's networking within a virtualized environment, you want to scale up your application, you want to patch it in a way that makes both commercial sense and technical sense, you want to provision a new application into the infrastructure, and you want to connect, for example, a new Internet of Things device, then you want to know that security is automatically provisioned and the application that you are deploying is instantly secured, that the application administrator who's going to use that application and look after it doesn't have to wait while you provision it and protect it. There is little overhead in terms of tickets to be opened with various firewall administrators so that they're aware of what is happening. And everything, you want to know that everything is auditable. You can go back to the logs, back to the audits, and understand exactly what has happened in a particular situation. If a system has been compromised, if it has been in some way affected by malware, then vSEC will allow you to pinpoint exactly what the problem is and how it can be mitigated immediately. And it will do this automatically. So it makes a very strong case for having an automated software which understands exactly what the changes are within the infrastructure and applies change the IP address of a web virtual machine, for instance, within your infrastructure. In the legacy or the old way of doing things, the application owner opens a ticket to the firewall administrator requesting a change to the security policy because that web VM IP address is changing. The firewall administrator changes the policy but can only do so at the weekend because that's when the network is down or can be taken down, and the new policy is published later that week. That takes time, takes days for that manual process to happen. With vSEC, if you want to change the IP address of that web VM, then vSEC dynamically learns about this change from vCenter. It understands the change that has been made to the web VM IP address, and it automatically updates all the virtual and physical gateways that it can see within the infrastructure. Now, bear in mind that vSEC not only can control virtual gateways within the environment, but it can also see all existing checkpoint appliances and make changes to policy on those appliances in accordance with the changes that are being made within the infrastructure. So you're able to manage every single checkpoint device that you have within your deployment using the vSEC controller. Another example, if you wish to scale up your applications, say for example, add a new web server in a virtual machine to a cluster, again, you would have to open a ticket to the firewall administrator, they change the policy, and again, that can take days until it takes effect. With vSEC, that virtual machine is automatically added to the web SDN group, in other words, the software-defined network group underlying the infrastructure, and vSEC dynamically learns about the change and instantly updates the gateway policy to accommodate that web VM, that new web VM that you're adding to the cluster. That takes seconds, if not minutes, compared to the many days that it can take if this is a manual process. This is all about automation and orchestration, applying security policy in an automated way and ensuring that it maintains the correct security posture across the organization. If you're virtual patching, sometimes it can take days to test and approve and deploy a new security patch into the infrastructure. Meanwhile, the vulnerability that was originally exposed means that your applications are still exposed whilst you test and approve and deploy a new security patch. With vSEC, you can virtually patch your applications immediately with vSEC intrusion prevention and advanced threat prevention before the security patch is announced. So you can protect yourself in that vulnerable time between the vulnerability becoming known and the security patch being tested and approved and deployed. So you can virtually patch your infrastructure whilst you wait for the new patch. And to provision a new application, you might develop a manual procedure for the new database. You have to manually configure the firewall to secure it, which takes time. If you develop an orchestration recipe within vSEC, as it works with, for example, VMware's vRealize, then the orchestration recipe will understand, in conjunction with vSEC, what the security policy is required for a new database, and vSEC will execute that recipe automatically and provision firewall policy to account for the new database, and it will do that instantly. So again, a huge amount of time saved in terms of maintaining your secure environment. And finally, to connect a new Internet of Things device to the infrastructure, all you need to do is open a ticket. All you need to do is open a portal which allows you to enter the new Internet of Things device, add it to the infrastructure, and a new security rule is created to accommodate that Internet of Things device, and all other gateways are instantly updated so that vSEC knows to protect that IoT device. Very simple, very straightforward process, and avoids having to open a ticket to a firewall administrator. Checkpoint has a management suite of software, which I'm sure some of you are aware of. It's currently now in version 80, we call it R80. We are now on R80.10. And if you combine vSEC with R80.10, then we believe that it delivers the best security automation solution. We can provide trusted policy delegation, which automation privileges can be provided to particular applications, which is very difficult to do with other solutions. We can run simultaneous updates to the infrastructure in an automated way, as most systems can only run one automation at a time. We can change gateway policy dynamically because vSEC learns about network changes of virtual machines and applications and applies the changes automatically. With a lot of solutions, the admin must manually update the policy anytime the virtual machine networking is changed, because the link is not there between vSEC and the software-defined networking software. We can do all security service chaining, that is, vSEC automatically configures changes based on the policy that you have defined. Very difficult to do that in most other solutions. Most other solutions, you have to manually configure the controller policy to provide that change in security. And finally, application role auto-discovery. So the administrator is educated on what policies apply between VMs, and those policies can be applied automatically to the infrastructure by vSEC. With other solutions, it's not possible to do that. You have to run a manual discovery process to understand what has changed in the networking between the virtual machines. We've had a number of success stories with vSEC. This company in America, in the US, are a genome mapping company. They were looking at using a large amount of cloud-based resource that needed to be absolutely secure. They say that using VPN and mobile access support and a seamless support for AWS that vSEC provides enables them to take full advantage of cloud capabilities and provides them with robust security, access control, and IPS to ensure that they are compliant in the Amazon environment. And as our representative within that company says, from a network operations standpoint, they're spending less than 2% of their expenses to run and manage all their cloud infrastructure. With cloud computing secured by vSEC, they can leverage world-class infrastructure that they've never been able to build on their own as a startup company. We also have other organizations that have looked at the integration between Checkpoint vSEC and VMware NSX that I spoke about earlier. Excuse me. Highest levels of security and consistent policy for all data traffic within running on that VMware NSX infrastructure, which protects our client data and offers micro-segmentation and automated security operations, which simplifies and accelerates their service delivery, reduces their time to market. So, in summary, we believe that legacy security can often be a showstopper. It can slow things down within the organization because it is a manual process. vSEC applies security as adaptive policy, and it does it automatically. So it becomes an enabler. Trying to protect east-west traffic, which comprises about 80% of the traffic in your data center deployments, it's very difficult to do that with legacy security. With vSEC, replace virtual gateways between virtual machines, integrate with the network, and provide protection in an east-west fashion. And application growth. We can add and replace on auto scale the security environment, whereas traditionally adding and replacing appliances, physical hardware, software appliances within the infrastructure takes time. With vSEC, because we can do that automatically, it's effortless, saves an enormous amount of time and reduces your time to market. We've had some recent big wins in Europe, major government departments needing absolute security assurance in huge estates of users, looking to deploy very rapidly within Azure. They could do that. And also financial institutions. Two of our banks here in the UK are already using vSEC to protect their deployments in the cloud. They are aware of the shortcomings of native cloud security, of the simple provisions that Azure, etc. make, and they realize that they need to be augmented by something with a lot more intelligence. So, vSEC is unified security for all clouds. We believe it's groundbreaking in the way that it protects deployments within the cloud and enables you to be confident that the deployments you've made into private or public cloud environments are secure moving forwards. So best prevention, designed for DevOps, and adaptive security. That concludes my slides. Thank you very much for listening. What questions do we have?
Thank you very much, Richard, for your presentation. That was very interesting. I see we have a few questions. So, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, Sie können weiterhin Fragen stellen auf der rechten Seite im Frage- und Antwortbereich. Wir werden diese gerne weiterhin entgegennehmen. Richard, I just read the first question to you.
Yes.
Is the functionality of vSEC the same on all cloud platforms, or is there a difference regarding security modules, e.g. between vSEC for NSX or vSEC for Cisco ACI?
The answer to that is there is a slight difference between the way that vSEC works with NSX and works with ACI, and that means that we offer separate SKUs or separate part numbers which are required to be ordered depending on which software-defined networking technology you are using.
Okay, thanks for that. There is another question. What's the licensing model? What drives the costs?
The licensing model, for example, with NSX, is exactly the same as VMware. So we license this product per virtual core. So if you're running a virtual core, then you need one vSEC license to accommodate that virtual core. And that can be scaled up to however many licenses you need. However, if you buy 50 licenses and you wish to apply them to 50 different scenarios or 50 different infrastructures, you are absolutely free to do that. You can use these licenses in any combination, any way you wish within your cloud deployment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I see there is no further questions appearing now. Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, Sie können uns selbstverständlich jederzeit erreichen, wenn Sie Fragen haben. Ich sehe, jetzt geht gerade eine Frage ein. Die kann ich vorlesen. Richard, there is another question. I will read it out to you. How can we get experience with vSEC, like education, learning, labs, and so on?
Okay. We have a team of specialists within Checkpoint who are mostly engineers, sales engineers. And we are absolutely happy to come and do a workshop for you in conjunction with Avantec to make sure that you understand what is involved with vSEC, how you can deploy it within your environment, and what technical aspects there are to the solution that you need to understand. So if you were to get in touch with Advantech and come through to us, we will provide you with the specialist help that you need.